Hello once again, social media enthusiasts. It's me, Mad Fury from Avid, here at Park City, Utah at the Sundance Film Festival. You know, Sundance is all about meeting incredibly talented people, new faces, old faces. 4 years ago, on this very spot, I met an up-and-coming editor named Daysha Broadway. Daysha was here with a project called 20s. You remember that?
Yeah, I think you just called my face old.
I was wondering if you were going to pick that up.
I did.
Familiar faces. Daysha was here with a project called 20s. Since that time, Daysha went on to win an Emmy for a Black Lady sketch show. Her work was so good, they're still giving out editing Emmys for that show. She's not even on it anymore. After that, she wanted to do her first feature film, a biopic of Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody, director Casey Lemons. How am I doing so far?
This is going well.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought so. Daysha is back at Sundance, this time with a indie horror rom-com mashup called You're a Monster. And if you were paying attention, we talked to the composer Tim Williams yesterday about that film. Now we are so lucky to have Daysha with us to get her perspective on the editorial process for You're a Monster. Daysha, welcome back to Park City. Welcome back to Sundance.
Thank you, sir. It's good to see you.
It is good to see you. I can't believe you agreed to do this.
I have a snowflake on my eyelash, and we're just going to pretend like it's not there.
Yes, we are going to pretend a lot of things aren't happening right now.
Push through.
Okay, yeah. All right, so we got Tim's take on what Your Monster is about. I'd love to hear how you describe the film.
It's been really difficult to describe the film because it's so many things, which is what I love about it. It's so weird, and it's so but Caroline Lindy is her personality is so in it, and that's what I love about her. She's so goofy and weird and very strong opinions, and it's very female forward. I love it, but it's tonally all over the place. And the best part about that is it works, because that doesn't always work. It's a rom-com that we're flipping on its head with a horror twist. It's also a musical sometimes. It's great.
Yeah, Tim mentioned the musical part, and I didn't really follow up. He's like, well, I think he said it takes place in New York.
Yeah, it takes place in New York. Yeah, I think Upper West Side or something. Very New York.
Well, that was his just. Wait a minute. When you say New York, do you have to wiggle your shoulders?
It's not like BX New York. It's like Upper West Side New York.
I got you. So
you know what I mean? It's not,
yeah, I know what you mean. And so that justifies the musicals part of it.
Right.
Okay. So then tell me about how you came to find this project. Obviously, we talked about your bona fides with the Black Lady sketch show and your Emmy and big picture with Casey Lemons. How did you become attached to Your Monster?
Okay, so Caroline reached out to my agents because, and I didn't know this at the time. I didn't know this until we were halfway done with the movie, but Tom Cross had actually recommended me to one of the producers, and then they reached out to my agents because Caroline had seen I Want to Dance with Somebody, and she really loved it. So we had a phone call after I watched. They had an early cut of the film, and I watched the cut, and I had a phone call with Caroline, and they couldn't move forward with the other editor. And so it was like, how do we continue making this film great and really, really solidifying and leaning into the tones of the film, make it campy and I watched it and I had a bunch of ideas, and in the interview with Caroline, I kind of just expressed them, and she was on the same page. It was the things that she wanted to get done to the film, but didn't really know how, and needed somebody who had kind of fresh ideas to just jump in and just open the thing up and kind of treat it as footage and not necessarily, we don't have to follow the script to a T because of the sort of genre bending that's happening. It just felt unnecessary. It was you could really just lean into all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And then we'll test it and see if the audience gets it. And they did. And thankfully they did.
Okay, so you had just come off doing I Want to Dance with Somebody. Again, a big feature. You're working on location during production. You're working with Casey afterwards in post. Now it's a much more different, doing an indie project. Yeah. How different was that for you? Where were you cutting?
I was cutting at home. And I was cutting in Larchmont. Caroline was in Highland Park, so it was a quick hop, skip, and a jump. She was also very pregnant. And for me, I was just walking her into the room every day, are you okay? Are you okay? Okay, here, do you have this? Do you have enough? Here's some snacks, Yeah. But it was great in that way where there was no huge amount of studio pressure or anything like that. Me and her could really just spend hours and hours and hours just being philosophical about the film, and going, what if we did this? What if we created an entirely new open and an entirely new ending to the film.
Wow.
Brought back scenes that were deleted, created flashbacks out of scenes that were deleted. I thought when the main character, Laura Melissa Barrera, she closes the monster in the closet, I was like, it'd be great to just do a quick, like, David Fincher type flash to when she did that when she was little, just to kind of connect what she's feeling. There was a lot of that. Like, we got to just really like play and make sure, like, just change the music, and the opening changed 90 times. But it was really great because we just got to play and make sure we had the best version of it possible. So it was nice. It was comfortable. It was really comfortable.
Okay, so speaking of comfortable, you're working at home.
Yeah.
What was your editorial setup at home? Were you working locally, or were you remoting into something?
It was local. I had a drive. Had my Mac. I had I had my snacks. No, it was totally local on a drive. They had backups elsewhere, safely hiding, but I was working right off of a drive.
And how are you collaborating with the rest of the team during that stage?
Well, it was great. I had my assist, Josh Johnson. He was also at home, and he had a copy of the drive, and we would send each other like bins whenever we needed to update something, or I would bring in sound effects, and then I would make sure, like on Dropbox, I would send him the sound effects that I imported. It was, like, you're looking at me like it was ghetto, and it was kind of ghetto, but
I would never say that, Daysha, especially when you're using Avid.
It's in your eyes, but it's fine.
You know me too well.
I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was great. Like, we were able to just like send files. It would have been much better if we could all just like be in a room, or offices down the hall, like. But it's indie filmmaking. You just you roll with what you got and give it your best shot.
Yeah, I've heard that. Okay, so as I mentioned, I talked to Tim Williams, the composer, yesterday, and I brought your name up. He's like, "Oh, she's great. I met her for the first time at the premiere," which says a lot about how you just said, "Hey, I would love to be close to people in an environment where we can really collaborate face to face." How does it feel working on an indie project where you really don't get to know these other, heads of department as you would on a standard feature?
It's a little odd. I like collaborating. I like interfacing with creatives and talking through things. Like when we were on I Want to Dance with Somebody, John Warhurst was in London, and it was really hard to just be like, I really want to talk to you about this, and we have to hop on a Zoom real quick, or even on Slack, I would just hit the video button and see if he would answer. He didn't, but it's fine. But yeah, it's I like collaborating very closely, but it's a little tougher. It's a little tougher when they're not there.
Yeah. Oh, look, your fans are walking by. Everybody wants to hear what Daysha has to say.
Clearly.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the things we talked about with Tim again was, and you touched on this a little, is finding the tone of this film when it's a mashup like that. You also mentioned screenings. Were you were able to do screenings? What did you learn from those screenings, and did that inform how you might have gone back and dialed up or down the horror versus the comedy and the romance and all those different elements?
Yeah, I think so. One of the biggest things about the tone was how we opened the film, how we set it, and making sure that audiences connected with the character and cared about her. That was my biggest note when I first talked to Carol. I was like, I really, really need to care about her because a lot of stuff happens to her, and I need to care that it happened to her. And we really need to kind of set that up in the beginning. So the screenings were really helpful because we would, try something at the beginning and screen it and get feedback of I really like this, but I didn't understand this. And, so it's great to sort of get that feedback. And tonally, it was a giant puzzle. I said this before, but one night I was watching Practical Magic.
As one does, yeah.
It was around Halloween. It was normal.
Right.
But it's also normal to watch that whenever because it's amazing. But I was like, oh my God, the movie's Practical Magic. It's not Practical Magic, but it's Practical Magic because Practical Magic opens with a woman, a witch being hung. But the most romantic 90s score is under it. And I was like, they set the tone right then and there. It's like this, there's witches, there's this, but it's a romance. There's romance in it. And also we have to figure out how to do that. So we have to make practical magic. Yeah, so that was, did I answer the question? I don't know what
I don't even remember what the question was, but it sounds like you found your own reference film without being told, hey,
a lot of them.
Daysha.
We watched Shape of Water.
Oh, wow, okay.
Because there's a romance with a monster.
That's a good one.
Which is the same. Like it's kind of the same, but it's like, I think the biggest tools we had were Melissa and Tommy Dewey, all the actors, Megan Fahey, Edmund. They did such a great job escalating their characters throughout the film. Mm-hmm. So when I needed to lean into the tone, the performance was there. Melissa especially, I was completely blown away, like how much she had to do in the film emotionally and switching, and she's funny. You care, you're sad for her, and when she triumphs, you're like, people were applauding in the middle of the film when she like goes off. People were literally applauding at the premiere, and it was just like heartwarming because it was like, you don't know if all this stuff is gonna land, you know? Right. But I think their performances really helped with shaping the tone, for sure.
So over the summer, you know, we talked about the film a little bit. You called me once or twice. I won't say about what. But we were talking about the editorial process. When you're not calling me to complain about something not working right, no. What are the features of Media Composer that you rely upon the most? What makes it the tool of choice for you on a project like this?
Script sync, especially, because especially when I'm doing something that has a lot of music, like musical performances, because there's so many takes and so many different angles of just one song, and I'm like, I might need this one thing on this particular lyric, and script sync is so helpful for that. It was helpful on Your Monster. Oh my God, I want to dance with somebody. Script sync was the most, and creating super groups. Oh, yeah. In Avid is really helpful for musical performances. And then I have like my tool set that I just use all the time. You know, Extend Edit is my friend. But also... That'd make
a great t-shirt.
Yeah. You want to make it?
Yeah, we'll do that together. We'll split the profits.
Okay. And 3D Warp, which I think all editors use all the time, so much so that we forget that we use it all the time, so we don't talk about it. But 3D Warp is, I feel like I use all day, every day. And but yeah, so, you know, I'm an Avid girly.
Oh, we love that. Well, listen, so you heard my intro, and I believed every word of it because it's all true. You've come a long way in just the past 4 years, and you were already pretty far along. Now that you have this experience and this, you know, this road behind you, for the next Daysha Broadway, what advice would you have for her?
Oh man, I think when I think about 4 years ago, I didn't really take it all in. I'm a person who's very hard on myself, and so whenever I'm watching something that I've done or I'm trying to show up to something, like even when we were doing this 4 years ago, I'm trying to be the best that I can be at every single thing that I do. And I forget to just take it all in and give myself space to kind of feel the accomplishment, even if it wasn't perfect, which is really hard for me. I'm very much a perfectionist, but like, I think if there's any young, especially female editors who are trying to get into this business, you're an editor, you're very meticulous, and spend a lot of hours trying to work something out, give yourself space to just breathe, you know? And know that not everything has to be exactly how you planned it to be.
That's good advice, I think, for anything. Yeah. Well, listen, Daysha, I've been looking forward to this, as you know. Once again, you were my favorite thing about Sundance. I've really enjoyed watching your career progress. I can't wait to see what you do next. And I can't wait to see you again back here again sometime with less snow. The one a snowflake just went straight into my eye when I was trying to listen to your compliment. Well, but I appreciate you so much. I really do. It's a highlight to come. Like I said, I want us to be like 70 years old together at the same time. I'm going to get there a lot earlier than you, okay? I want us to be like old and like we're like on walkers and I'm like talking about the thing I just cut and you're like, you know, I'm in like a breathing tube, but you know. Well, thanks for giving me something to look forward to, Daysha.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Always
Ladies
good
and
to talk to
gentlemen,
you.
my best friend, Daysha Broadway, editor of You're a Monster and so many other fine projects. Stay with us here on the Avid social media channels for more
We're
interviews. A little snow in the eye every now and then, but it won't hurt anybody. So stick with us and we'll see you again back here in Park City.